in acupuncture, I could continue to grow. I could pay for my own benefits if need be. I could
Right.
make more than I would on my salary as a teacher.
Mhm.
So I was able to make that leap. And then, as I say, if you can, while you're doing it, get into learning about business and really beginning to plan and envision how you're going to set up and how you're going to build to get to that point where you can support yourself doing acupuncture. I think the most important part is to really be very clear and envision
Mhm.
exactly what type of practice you would like,
Mhm.
and then do all the research to fill in the gaps to figure out what you need to get to that point.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's great to take risks, especially if it's what you really want to do and what you see is best for your future. So I
Right,
would
right.
definitely recommend, do it, but
Mhm.
plan it out and do it well.
So, hi everyone. This is Bora from Boncho France. This is going to be our very first episode for Boncho TV. Today we have guest speaker Mike from Emily Skin Soothers.
Mhm.
Welcome. Thank you for
Thank
joining.
you. Happy
Okay.
to join.
So Mike, can you tell us about yourself, what you do?
Mhm. Yeah, I'm an acupuncturist. I've been an acupuncturist about 22 years. I'm in the North Shore of Boston. I went to NISA, and before that, I was a community college professor. And then for about the last 15 years, I've had the skincare line made with Chinese herbal medicine, Emily Skin Soothers.
Awesome. Okay. Um, so what made you become an acupuncturist?
Hmm. Yeah, I think like a lot of our colleagues, I benefited greatly from acupuncture myself initially and got intrigued by it. I was really physically active and I kept getting injured. And I would go to the doctor and get a painkiller and a muscle relaxant. It wouldn't do anything. It happened a number of times in a small period of time. And the next time I got injured, I was doing martial arts and stuff. And when I got injured, I said, there's no point in going to the doctor because they're just going to give me something to quiet the symptoms, but it
Mhm.
doesn't treat the problem. So I asked around. I was in Chinatown in Boston, and someone sent me to an expert in the treatment of injury. And I went and was down in the basement with all the herb jars around and very smoky with all the moxa. And I was afraid of needles actually. Um, but I went and I got treated and he fixed me up really quickly. And I was shocked because the injury
Oh,
was a pretty bad injury to my hand. He fixed me up really quickly. I was totally intrigued afterwards. So I started to hang out at his office and teach his assistant English and run errands for them just to try to gain some
oh.
access.
Mhm.
And come to find out that he was like a real expert in treatment of injury that a lot of the students at the school were trying to assist with. And he would never let anyone assist because you had to kind of prove your character and who you were
Mhm.
before he would let anyone in. I had no
Right.
idea. I just went to him as a patient. Um, and he started, I stayed around, I hung around, and he started to let me observe and assist. And I got more and more intrigued. And then I found out that the oldest school in the country was right there in Watertown. It was a New England School of Acupuncture, where I ended up going.
Oh, wow. What is the acupuncture school name you went to?
Yeah, New England School of Acupuncture.
New England School of
It's the
Acupuncture.
oldest one in the country, actually. It was in Watertown, Mass, and
Oh,
now it's part of Mass College of Pharmacy in
right,
Worcester, Massachusetts.
right. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow. So
it's a
that's
fun.
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I probably doubled my education because I did assist with them throughout the training at the school and then after school too. And it turned out that he was the teacher of the Tweenot class at the acupuncture school, uh,
Oh.
Chinese massage. So I did that with him. And then when I finished, I taught with him for a while at the school. And then he said, "Oh, you take the class." So I taught that. And then we also taught a class in treatment of injury, specialty in treatment of injury using herbs, tuina, special acupuncture techniques for CEUs for other acupuncturists after I graduated.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's amazing.
It was fun.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool. Um, so so you have your product, Emily Skin Soothers. So
Hmm.
so how did you start with that product?
My daughter, Emily, was
Mhm.
born 16 years ago and she had eczema. And, I know that the standard protocol would be to put her on steroids, which we really didn't want to do as an infant. So I just asked my wife for a little time to maybe make something up to try to avoid the steroids. And I
Mhm,
used the traditional formulas and went back and simplified them and pared them down and tested them on ourselves. And we made a really simple herbal balm,
mhm,
and it worked really well for her. So that was all I was planning, just to keep her off steroids, really. But because it works so well, I use it with some of my patients in my practice
mhm,
who had eczema and other skin problems, and they got really crazy results. Like
mhm,
people with long-term serious eczema, no relief. They were getting incredible results. So I said, "Oh, this is maybe something more." So I began to use it with them. I used it with other acupuncture patients, and then I decided to launch the product and started to sell it locally. And I had no idea, no plans,
mhm,
so I just had to learn on the fly as I was doing it. And it's
mhm.
been now 16 years, and we're in
Wow.
Whole Foods and in health food stores, and a lot of acupuncturists
Uh,
carry it around the country.
that's amazing. I saw your videos how you got into Whole Food
Mm.
in Boston around your area. I thought that was very interesting story. So could you let us know more about that? How you actually got into those like big market?
Yeah, I mean, it's much different now because that was 15 years ago. We've been with them about 15 years, but um, basically, as I say, I didn't know what I was doing. I was making it up. So I was not going the typical channels. I was just trying things. So I'd sent them the product to test and to see the local buyer. And it was very rudimentary. It wasn't properly labeled. It wasn't ready for retail at all. But
Mhm,
she was incredibly generous and kind with her time. She'd been there for a long time, and they're very busy, and they always have people approaching them. This was before Amazon, but she was giving me feedback. She was saying, well, this isn't right, this label's not, you need to do this. And I was taking her advice and making changes, but at the same time we were pursuing press coverage just to get the word out. And our local paper, my hometown, or the town where I'm living in, part of Boston, they covered it and they wrote a nice story. Dad creates a product for his daughter and pictures with the baby,
mhm,
and in it, I had mentioned, Whole Foods was looking at it. That's all.
mhm.
And then the Boston Globe saw that article because they had put it on the front page. So the Boston Globe came out and they said, "Oh, we need to do an interview." And they did. And again, I
Oh,
mentioned Whole Foods just in passing. Whole Foods is looking at the product, but
oh,
people don't really read carefully.
right.
So they all went to Whole Foods and all around the region, and
Oh,
they were asking for the product. And the buyer called me and said, "What the hell happened?" She was shocked. She had no
oh,
idea because there was such demand.
oh,
So we
wow.
created demand, and she said, "All right, you have to auto ship to all the stores." And we were not prepared at all.
Oh,
So we had to make huge batches, and we had to have family parties where people helped us and shipped and helped us make batches and pour them and label them. And we had to improve the labels and increase the volume dramatically suddenly. But it
oh.
was a great problem to have.
Right. Yeah. Wow. As I'm hearing this, I'm getting like goosebumps.
It was very
Yes.
lucky.
Yeah. That's
But we
very
created the
crazy
luck by
story.
creating the possibilities.
Hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, creating the demand, that was the real thing. So same with acupuncture practices getting started.
Hmm.
People have to know that you're there and what you can do for them and how they can benefit.
Right.
So that's really important because I see a lot of acupuncturists coming out and, they set up, but people don't
Mhm.
necessarily know they're there or what they could do to help. So if you
Right.
create the demand, that's
Mhm.
a whole different story.
Right. I think that's exactly the point.
Mhm.
So are you so you have your own practice too, right?
Yes. My
Okay.
wife and I practice in the North Shore, and then she's in the city too.
Oh, so you guys are both acupuncturists.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really cool. So how do you
Yeah,
guys
she was
do?
something.
Mhm. Go ahead.
She actually was a lawyer, but she saw me
Oh,
enjoying acupuncture so much, she went to acupuncture school, and she's really, really good at it now too. And
uh,
she specializes in fertility.
uh, oh wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing. So you turn into acupuncturist.
I guess. Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. So how do you
Mhm.
guys do advertisement for your acupuncture clinic?
Yeah, we don't so much anymore. We're both as busy as we want to be, and we still take new patients, but we're not actively advertising except for, small little social posts on social
Mm-hmm.
media. But
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, I really beat the bushes. I went out and gave talks. I did health fairs.
Mm-hmm.
I, wrote letters to other practitioners in the area. I did trades with other practitioners in the area. It was very important just to make people aware that I was there and what I could do for them. So there was a lot of that in the early years. And
Mm-hmm.
then by word of mouth and patient experience and testimonials, after you have an established practice, you don't have to keep going unless you want to continue to grow. Because I have the other business,
Uh-huh.
I actually have cut back my acupuncture hours and do about half half.
Okay, okay, great, great. I actually use your product, Emily Skin Soothers, one of the stick balm.
Mm-hmm.
I got like really dry skin during winter time, and it worked
Mm-hmm.
amazing. I really
Oh, I'm
love it.
glad.
Yeah,
Thank
my
you.
hands and feet
Yeah.
gets really dry, and
Yeah.
yeah, it works like magically. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Chinese medicine, herbs, they're really
Mhm.
powerful.
Yeah. So, if you don't mind, can
Mhm.
you share like one or two herbs that you use in the product?
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, each balm is pretty simple, only, from maybe 6 to 10 ingredients for the most part.
mhm,
And they are based on traditional formulas that we, like I say, initially we made them simpler and simpler just because they were going to be used on an infant. And then because that turned out to be our customer population, people who are really sensitive skinned, we
mhm,
continued to formulate in that way, very minimalist, very simple. So today we're making a hot skin soother, and it
mhm,
has the combo of peony and frankincense, which is a great pair that work together very well
mhm,
synergistically. And we actually have that pair in two of our formulas because it strongly promotes circulation, helps to reduce inflammation, but also helps to generate new flesh,
mhm,
so for skin problems to bring blood to the area to help it heal.
mhm.
So that's a powerful pair that we use quite regularly.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's
Uh,
fun.
we uh, we saw that you launched new product, the Sage, the room spray. That's pretty
Hmm.
new compared to the
Hmm.
skin balm. Yeah. What are
Yeah.
those for?
Basically, I had wanted to use scent as a trigger or a stimuli for my acupuncture patients.
Mhm.
Just like, Marcel Proust, the French author, about remembrance of things past. Like he would find that sense would stimulate memory.
Oh
And it's true
yeah.
that our bodies are really reactive to scent.
Mhm.
So I wanted something very gentle and subtle and light because most sprays are extremely strong and overpowering, and a lot of people are sensitive and can't take it. So I ended up making something with a clary sage base for all of them and very light and subtle and clean. And then I put different scents in that to stimulate different things. So we have frankincense, which is more meditative and open the senses. And there's lavender, which is very calming and relaxing. There's bergamot, which is very bright and uplifting and kind of good for conversation and kind of wake someone up, or if someone's depressed, feeling to kind of brighten their day. So each one has a different kind of use.
Mhm.
And oftentimes I'll spray the room before the patient arrives, and they may not even consciously notice, but it's still a stimuli to create a different type of session for them.
Wow.
And then when we did
Really.
that, we decided to make other scented lifestyle products. We made a couple candles, and we made a hand sanitizer that was very clean and simple, that type
Mhm.
of stuff, body wash.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, that's very cool.
yeah.
Um, and then we noticed that you're selling those to the customer directly, but then also
Mhm.
selling those products to acupuncturists and
Mhm.
practitioners.
Right.
Mhm. So
Yeah. I
how
mean, so,
many how did you set that up, and how's the
mhm.
process? Could you share more about that?
Yeah, I think again, it's the same idea of like creating demand.
Mhm.
So just in the experience of what was going on, I was sharing online with colleagues, and they saw some of the press too. And the backstory created by an acupuncturist for his daughter, created using Chinese herbs.
Mhm.
These things interested colleagues, and I made it available to colleagues who were from the same school from me. And then again, by word of mouth and by the positive effect of the products, it spread more. And then I shared it more on Facebook groups for acupuncturists and things like that. And people who knew me personally would also see the testimonials and some of the before and after pictures that were coming in. So actually, again, I didn't know what I was doing. I was making it up as I was going along. We were just selling online and then in stores. And then because more acupuncturists were asking us, then we decided to create a wholesale site for acupuncturists and set that up and really try to promote that more. And now that's a good portion of our business too. And it really works well because many of them understand the herbs, understand what each different product would be best for,
Mhm.
because there are different balms that have different applications. And
Right.
when they're able to understand them and give them to the patient the best fitting one, they get the
Mhm.
best results. So it's a mutual benefit. The patient does better, but also the acupuncturist is able to look good for giving them something that worked for them and
Yeah.
make a couple of extra bucks too
Mhm.
from selling it wholesale to retail.
Mhm.
So.
Oh, amazing.
And it's
Um,
been really good as an acupuncturist too, because oftentimes we are just making our money based on the patient contact time,
right.
right? And in the beginning, you may be young and excited and ready to go, but a lot of patient contact time, it can be wearing over time. So
Yes.
the fact that I'm able to have two baskets, drawing from the product side and
Mhm.
cutting back my patient contact hour, actually.
Mhm.
Most people who are in the field who are very successful either expand their business to be not just them or
Mhm.
have some other sideline that
Mhm.
doesn't make them work so hard seeing patients all the time, because that can
Yeah.
be quite tiresome 2 decades in, 3 decades in.
Uh, yeah, I like how you set things up. You have your product line, so it's scalable.
Yes.
That's yeah, I think that's very smart. And I think I saw your one of your video talking about before you're actually starting the Emily Skin Soothers. You read a lot of business books.
Hmm.
So I feel like as a acupuncturist, we only learn about how to do acupuncture and learn
Yeah,
about herbs. So we know how to treat patients.
that's
But
right.
in business aspect, in terms of business, I
Hmm.
think we're very lacking information.
Hmm. So much.
So yeah, what kind of book did
Hmm.
you go through, and then what do you suggest to those who are trying to build up their business as
Hmm.
acupuncturists?
Yeah, as you said, I think it's incredibly limiting how much business training we get. And unfortunately, because there aren't that many job opportunities where you can make a solid living as an acupuncturist, most people end up becoming an entrepreneur and a
Mhm.
business owner.
Yeah.
And that's no small thing. So you have to know how to do all that. There are small business associations that have classes,
Mhm.
but I just picked up whatever business book was popular at the time, mostly for
Mhm.
the Emily business, um, because I was actually part-time practicing and still a teacher for a while. And then
Mhm.
later on, I was part-time practicing, and a friend of mine left a hospital job. So I applied and got into that, and it finally made full-time acupuncture, but I built up very gradually. But I
Mhm.
think the more that you know about business, and what I did was look at the top 10 business books, their lists every year, top 10 business books, and the
Mhm.
most popular general use. And
Mhm.
I read them in the car, books on tape, and just got a lot of different ideas and began to get a sense of how businesses run and what to consider,
Mhm.
what not to do. Because if there are many people who are incredibly good, well trained, skilled acupuncturists who have no business sense,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, they're not able to help people
Mhm.
because they don't have the opportunity. And then there are other people who are only fair acupuncturists, but really good at business, and they're incredibly busy and they're making a killing,
Mhm.
so you really have to fill in those gaps. And
Yes.
I think the most important part is to really be very clear and envision
Mhm.
exactly what type of practice you would like,
Mm-hmm.
and then do all the research to fill in the gaps to figure out what you need to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Have to very clear, very specific idea, and then figure out if it'll work according to your ideas in your where you're trying to set up, what the medium income of the area is, how many
Yeah.
acupuncturists there are, how much will
Mm-hmm.
rent cost, how much do you need to make, and put it all
Mm-hmm.
together and see if the numbers mash up. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times people just set up shop and then they sit there and wait,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not going to happen. You really have to take
Mm-hmm.
action on your own behalf to really make it happen.
Yes, yes, that's a great advice because for me too, I still have my full-time job. My partner still holds full-time job. I do side of house calls. And
Mm-hmm.
then we have this bunch of friends to help students and practitioners. And as we started this business, we really wanted to bring that gap closer, like
Mm-hmm.
between doing business, running a business, and then running an acupuncture clinic. We want to share as much as we can to help those who are struggling, and then share like really important informations together so we can help each
Yeah,
other.
that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, your cards will make it so much easier to get people through the exams in the first place. But
Hmm.
this type of information should also help them start to think about what else they need to do to, make a living in acupuncture. It's
Yes.
unfortunate that a certain percentage of any small business, not just acupuncture, any
Hmm.
small business, I think I forget what the percentage is, but it's very high that fail in the first 5 years. They don't
Yes.
even make it beyond the first 5 years.
Hmm.
So to have more information, thinking about how they're going to go about it, and then gradually build up. I mean, not many people have the financial wherewithal or the backing to just start up and wait for it to happen. So
Yeah.
most of us do have a other career or a sideline to support ourselves until we get to that point where we can make the jump. And
Hmm.
that's, totally normal. But
Hmm.
the clearer you are about where you're trying to get to and how you will practically do it makes it easier to make the transition. If you're not clear about what needs to be done or what you really want, then it'll take a lot longer.
Yes, exactly. That's why we wanted to show those who are already successful in the
Mm-hmm.
field, and then show them the many ways of doing acupuncture business in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, do you have any advice for people who are attending to acupuncture school right now? I know we kind of briefly talked about it, but do you have like any other advice to them?
Yeah, I would say that it's great to learn all the material, but you're going to go over it again once you get into practice. You're going to continue learning at the time, so you don't have to worry too much about the grades. No patient will ever look at your acupuncture grades. If you get the degree and you get the license, good enough. So it's good
Mhm.
to know the material, but don't worry about the grade so much. A lot of people get really focused on that. And then, as I say, if you can, while you're doing it, get into learning about business and really beginning to plan and envision how you're going to set up and how you're going to build to get to that point where you can support yourself doing acupuncture. Um, a lot of times, I think it's important to pick a specialty
Mhm.
because general practice is all well and good. But if you can make yourself stand out by doing a specialty or having something that you can really approach people with, it's more likely that you'll be able to market yourself.
Mhm.
So if there's something that particularly interests you, try to go after that and get a general practice, but make it more specific to what interests you.
Mhm. Thank you. That's a
Sure.
great advice.
Hmm.
Do you want to share any other story with our audience? Um,
Let me think. Other stories. I don't know. I haven't thought of it. Um,
Mhm.
I guess just that, like I say, I mean, for me, it did take a few years to really become a full-time acupuncturist. I was
Mhm.
a community college professor and it had flexible hours. So I was able to build a small practice part-time when I was not teaching,
Mhm.
evenings and weekends. And I got
Mhm.
up to about half time and I didn't know how it make the jump because I still had to teach. I was lucky in that a colleague was leaving a hospital job,
Mhm.
and it was during the summer when I was on break. So
Mhm.
I was able to apply, and a lot of people applied. I was lucky enough to get the position, and I figured I would try it out and see during the summer if it would work that I could leave the other job. And
Mhm.
because it was already an established practice and it had benefits too, I was able to say, all right, I think this is already established. I have enough patients for my other, I have benefits. So I worked the whole summer. It looked good. And then I
Mhm.
was able to leave my teaching job, which everyone said, don't leave. It's a tenured position. You're
Oh.
safe. You have income. But the
Mhm.
thing is, in acupuncture, I could continue to grow. I could pay for my own benefits if need be. I could
Right.
make more than I would on my salary as a teacher.
Mhm.
So I was able to make that leap. And I would say that, a lot of times you have to take a leap and there's
Mhm.
risk involved. And a lot of times people will ask you to stay with what's safe and what's well established.
Right.
And they mean well, but a lot of times they haven't taken the risk. And
Mhm.
it's a scary thing.
Mhm.
And I would say it's well worth doing, especially if you plan it out, if you think it through, not just on your intuition, not just on your feeling, but
Right.
actually looking and seeing, okay, what do I need to make? As I said before, how will I
Mhm.
do it specifically? How many people? How much will I have to charge? How
Mhm.
about rent and all of these expenses? A really good, clear business plan, but have it all together and do it even though people say, oh no, don't do that. That's scary. There are many times in my career, like I was at a hospital job also for
Mhm.
10, 11 years,
Mhm.
and this business, the Emily business, was growing so much that it was becoming too much.
Mhm.
So people said, oh, don't leave the hospital. It's a great position. You have benefits. Da, da,
Uh-huh.
da. And same thing. I got to a point where I knew I would make more doing the other, and I could
Yes.
afford to pay for all my benefits myself.
Mhm.
And it was less secure initially, but I could see how it could continue to grow. And I knew that I could work towards that. So again,
Mhm.
I went against everyone's ideas like, don't leave what's safe.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's great to take risks, especially if it's what you really want to do and what you see is best for your future. So I
Right.
would
Right.
definitely recommend, do it, but
Mhm.
plan it out and do it well.
Yes, I
you know?
like how you really plan it out really nicely, and the
Yeah.
waited until your other step was secure enough to support you financially, and then move on. So I think that's very smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be incredibly stressful and make it even more difficult.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah, I think that's much about it for the
Great.
question we had today. Um, Thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you for the opportunity.
yeah, and then for practitioners who's interested in getting Emily Skin Soothers at a wholesale price,
Mhm.
um, do you have a wholesale price website or
Yes. It's a separate website from the main website right now. It's www.wholesale.emilyskinsoothers.com. But actually, we're right now in the process of creating a new website, and that website will probably have them together again. It'll just have a different link for wholesale people, and that'll probably come up in January or so. But for now, it's still a separate site.
Okay, awesome. And then I heard that you sometimes give out coupon code for the practitioners or even for the non-practitioners. So
Yes.
uh-huh.
We send coupon codes regularly through our newsletter, and we
Mhm.
sent one this week, I think, for 15% off or something. And for practitioners, we can set up a wholesale first order discount for 10% using the code Boncho 10, all caps, no spaces. And we'll set that up so new practitioners can set up, and the first order would be 10% off.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, we'll put the link on the below. So anyone who's interested in to purchase Emily Skin Suitors, you can click on the link and then use the coupon code Boncho10. That's
Thank you.
BONCHO number 10. Okay,
Mhm.
awesome. All right, thank you so much for joining us today. Hope to talk to you soon. Um,
Great. Thank you again.